With the 2021 NBA regular season coming to an end, there's been a lot of talk around who should make an All-NBA team and who shouldn't. Like any NBA fan, I found myself wanting to make my own All-NBA teams based on who I feel deserved it most. In this video, I'll list all of my teams, explain why each player lands where they did, and what prevents them from being higher or lower. Keep in mind that these are my own personal teams, and this isn't a prediction on who will make what team, but who I feel deserves each spot most. I selected my teams by evaluating their play through countless hours of film study and the help of some analytics. I don't care about team success, but rather how much value each player added to their team over the course of the entire season. Because of this, I of course factored in games played along with their performance as players. Now that you know how I picked my teams, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the All-NBA first team. This should be fairly obvious, but for my first guard, I went with Steph Curry. Curry took the league by storm this season, putting on one of the greatest scoring clinics the game of basketball has ever seen. He continues to show just why he's the greatest off-ball player and shooter in NBA history, floor-raising a putrid Warrior supporting cast offensively all year. He averaged a career-high 33 points per 75 possessions on 65.5% true shooting, and I'm still confident in saying he doesn't lose any value defensively, making him a lock for my first team guard spot. For the other guard spot, I went with Luka Doncic. Luka continues to show why he's the future face of the league, being the playmaking engine behind a Mavericks top 10 offense that's faced some injuries. This season, he improved his in-between game on offense, utilizing the post and mid-range more, as well as his outside shot, and he's improved defensively across the board. Luka was one of the most prolific slashers in the NBA this season, both in terms of volume and efficiency, and this opened up the floor, allowing him to create for teammates. Shot creation estimates put Luka second in the NBA, behind only Trae Young, able to generate offense through his ability to leverage his scoring gravity into high-value scoring opportunities and his historically great skip passing. Moving to the forward position with another easy choice in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis quietly put together one of the best seasons in the NBA, repeating his Defensive Player of the Year level defense while arguably improving his offensive game from last season. His outside shooting has stayed relatively the same as last year, but what improved was his activity off the ball, likely due to Budenholzer using him as a roll man more often. As a result, Giannis shot just under 83.7% inside the paint on almost 500 attempts, an unheard of level of finishing. Giannis being used as a roll man had no effect on his playmaking production, and the Bucks had the #1 offense in the league with Giannis on the floor this season as a result. Giannis remains a top 3 help defender in the league on top of his outstanding offensive production, making him an easy selection on the first team. For the next forward position, I went with Joel Embiid. I'm so glad they made Embiid eligible as a forward because it didn't feel right leaving his historic season off the first team. This season, Embiid showed why the post-centric center is still a very prominent position, the 76ers having the #1 offense and defense this season with Embiid on the floor. Embiid still has very clear playmaking limitations that might hurt him come playoff time, but just considering the regular season, it wasn't holding him back much. Embiid led the league with 33.1 points per 75 possessions and was extremely efficient, shooting almost 50% from mid-range and 38% from 3, while of course being one of the most prolific post scorers in the NBA. Defensively, Embiid is the rim-protecting anchor behind the #2 defense in the NBA and has a strong case for all defense. His two-way impact has had him in MVP conversations all year, and he was a pretty comfortable selection for me on the first team. As for the center, this one should be obvious with the MVP Nikola Jokic. Jokic just had one of the best offensive seasons in NBA history, not only playmaking at one of the highest levels we've ever seen, but scoring and spacing the floor at an elite level as well. And as a result, the Nuggets have the greatest offense in NBA history with him on the floor. Jokic creates at a very high level with just little time of possession because of how quick his decision making is and how good he is off the ball, making him a seamless fit into any system and a near perfect offensive centerpiece for any contending team. Defensively, Jokic still has some limitations, but he has smart instincts and uses his size and length to defend in the post, keeping him around neutral on that end. Overall, what Jokic has done this season should earn him unanimous All-NBA first team honors. That rounds out my All-NBA first team: Curry, Luka, Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic. But now it's time to move on to the All-NBA second team, starting with my first guard, and that's Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard this season led an injury-riddled Blazers team to the 4th best offense in the NBA through his impressive scoring and playmaking, continuing to show why he's one of the great offensive players in the league today. He remains one of the league's best three-point shooters, shooting over 39% from outside on over 10 attempts a game. This level of efficiency and volume from deep is matched by few, and as a result, Lillard requires unique defensive attention that opens up the floor for his elite playmaking. Lillard is also one of the best pick-and-roll ball handlers in the league, both scoring and playmaking at a high level in those situations, giving him a well-rounded offensive game that earns him a spot on the All-NBA second team. For the second guard on my All-NBA second team, I went with James Harden. A lot of people kept Harden lower on their All-NBA teams because of games played, but keep in mind, the Rockets started the season late, meaning Harden only actually missed 22 games, less than LeBron James and just one more than Joel Embiid. When playing this season, Harden showed why he's one of the best playmakers on the planet, clearly elevating the team around him both as a floor raiser and ceiling raiser. Harden took a smaller role as a scorer to be the main facilitator in Brooklyn, and it worked extremely well because of his superb ability to read defenses and hit teammates in the perfect spot for easy scoring opportunities. Part of what makes Harden such an elite playmaker is his ability to make high-value assists, most notably when throwing lobs out of the pick and roll. As a result, Harden leads the league in rim assists per game by a decent margin, and all playmaking metrics paint him as a top 3 playmaker in the league. Although Harden did miss time with injury, he put together yet another MVP caliber season when healthy, earning him a spot on my All-NBA second team. Next we have the forward spots, starting with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi actually has quite the compelling argument to be on the first team, remaining one of the league's top scorers and perimeter defenders while playmaking at the highest level of his entire career. We are finally seeing Kawhi more comfortable being the primary creator of an offense, getting much better at skip passing and delivering tight passes in the pick and roll, and as a result, the Clippers are the 3rd best offense in the entire NBA. He's as good as ever from the mid-range, shot just under 40% from 3, and finished at the highest rate of his entire career inside the paint, really showing his prowess as a 3-level scorer. Defensively, he's still a top isolation defender in the NBA, using his length and quick hands to give ball handlers lots of trouble creating shots on him, and his off-ball defense has remained solid enough to make him an all-defensive caliber player. He's been arguably the best two-way player in the entire league this season, and an easy selection as a forward on my All-NBA second team. As for the next forward, I went with LeBron James. LeBron came into the season playing very elite basketball on both ends of the floor, looking like a legitimate MVP finalist and all-defensive team member for the first time since 2014. LeBron remains one of the top playmakers in the league, looking like the entire Lakers offense at times, able to deliver high-value passes in many different ways and situations, displaying the ultimate arsenal as a passer. He also remains a historically great finisher, even in his 18th season, getting to the rim at will and finishing at the 2nd highest percentage in the paint of his entire career. On the defensive end, LeBron looked the most active he had in a long time, especially off the ball, jumping into lanes consistently and providing great help-side rim protection. Overall, at this point, you know what LeBron James does on the court and what he brings to a team. Although he's missed games, if he isn't worthy of an All-NBA second team, I don't know who is. To fill out the last spot on my All-NBA second team is the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. If you want a full breakdown on just how good Gobert's been this season, that video is out now on my channel. He's been easily the best defender this year through his all-time levels of rim protection and his improvements as a help side and isolation defender. He's gotten much better at moving his feet to stick with quicker players, and his discipline is some of the best we've ever seen on the defensive end, being 2nd in the NBA in shots contested per game while being just 66th in personal fouls. Offensively, he's the best screen setter in the NBA, drawing tons of defensive attention on the roll and opening up the floor for spot-up shooters on the perimeter. He's gotten much better at passing out of the roll and remains one of the most efficient scorers in the entire league, being a clear positive on offense, and his historic defensive season earns him the center spot on my All-NBA second team. That finishes my All-NBA second team. Dame, Harden, LeBron, Kawhi, and Gobert each earning a spot. Now we can move on to the third and final All-NBA team, starting with the first point guard, and that's Chris Paul. Chris Paul being forced into MVP conversations is something I definitely disagree with, but there's no denying the season he put together. He was the playmaking engine behind the 6th best offense in the NBA, remaining one of the best passers in the NBA. While CP3 doesn't make the most high-value assists at the rim, he's still an amazing skip passer and one of the most effective pick-and-roll ball handlers in the NBA, and when he finds holes to exploit, he delivers them effectively enough that he's still near the top of the league in almost every playmaking metric. He's still shooting at an unheard of level of efficiency from mid-range and shot just under 40% from 3 this season, adding value as a floor spacer as well. He's still a solid defender, showing strong anticipation off the ball and being a great defensive communicator. Combine that with his playmaking and he earns the first guard spot on my All-NBA third team. As for the second guard spot, that goes to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving proved all of his doubters wrong with arguably the best offensive season of his entire career, averaging an efficient 27.8 points per 75 possessions while playmaking at a high level. Kyrie just had one of the most efficient mid-range seasons ever while shooting over 40% from 3, and his crafty finishing gives the final touch to a well-rounded 3-level scoring game. He can create his own shot very effectively while also being able to play off the ball, being an elite movement shooter that allows KD and Harden to create as well. As a playmaker, Kyrie is more comfortable than ever throwing high leverage passes to create open dunks and layups, most notably out of the pick and roll where he can survey the entire court and get to his spots. I can't forget to mention the defensive end either, where Kyrie has been very active on and off the ball and played some of the most impactful defense of his entire career. Kyrie had a monster season offensively and was the clear inclusion for me on the All-NBA third team. Now on to the forwards with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler just put together the best season of his entire career, being elite on both ends of the floor. Offensively, Butler is a strong cutter, allowing other ball handlers to create shots, and this activity off the ball takes away the detriments of his outside shooting. He's an elite finisher and one of the best in the NBA at getting to the line, and because of this, he's still a very efficient scorer. On top of this, Butler has quickly become one of the best playmakers in the NBA, pairing the threat of his drives with quick decision making that allows him to create for open shooters. He also gets a decent amount of rim assists in the pick and roll, making tough passes but very efficiently, rarely ever turning the ball over. Defensively, Butler seems back to his Chicago self, making tons of strong reads off the ball and showing a very high motor guarding opposing stars on the ball. He can provide solid help side rim protection at times, but where he's most prominent is in passing lanes, always making pre-rotations that allow him to jumpstart transition offense for the Miami Heat. Jimmy has performed at a very high level on both ends of the floor this season and easily takes a spot on my All-NBA third team. As for the final forward on my All-NBA teams, that spot goes to Jason Tatum. Tatum has quickly developed into one of the most versatile scorers in the entire NBA, and for the first time in his career, he's been getting to the line at an effective rate, boosting his overall scoring efficiency. His shot making is very impressive, able to hit shots on the move and with defenders draped all over him, making it very tough to stop him. He's improved a lot as a playmaker this year, showing great vision with his skip passing, but his delivery still isn't the greatest, and it prevents him from making really high leverage assists. Defensively, Tatum had an off stretch because of COVID, but he still remains one of the smartest and most active off-ball defenders in the entire league, able to switch onto the perimeter, but also providing very solid rim protection. Tatum is one of the best two-way forwards in the league, and injuries haven't prevented his ability to lead Boston. Now on to the last player on my All-NBA third team, and that's Bam Adebayo. Bam is one of the best defenders in the NBA, being arguably the most versatile big in the league on that end, able to keep up with perimeter players while having the size and athleticism to match up with bigs. This versatility stems from his mobility, able to move his feet extremely well, and he's able to move his hips well to force players into tough spots where he can use his sneaky 7'1" wingspan to alter their shot. Offensively, Bam is one of the best passing bigs in the NBA, and he's extremely effective working in the mid-range area, opening up the floor for cutters and shooters to move off the ball as he works in isolation. He can also get to the rim effectively, able to beat most of his defenders off the dribble, and he's a strong lob threat, being one of the best finishers in the NBA. He's still sometimes timid when attacking, but he has his moments looking like a Kevin Garnett disciple, and he brings lots of value on both ends of the floor, earning him the center spot on my All-NBA third team. Now we can recap all of the teams, the first team consisting of Curry, Luka, Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic. The second team includes Dame, Harden, Kawhi, LeBron, and Gobert. And the third team has CP3, Kyrie, Jimmy, Tatum, and Bam. Real quick, I'd like to run through some names who just missed the cut with my all honorable mentions team. Trae Young, Devin Booker, Paul George, Zion Williamson, and Karl Anthony Towns. You could also include Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, Chris Middleton, and Julius Randle as players who were close to making it. That's it for my All-NBA teams. I'll be dropping my NBA award picks and playoff predictions soon, so make sure to subscribe and turn my post notifications on to be first on those. Also make sure to follow my Twitter at KGsGo, Instagram at TheHoopVenue, and second YouTube channel HV to keep up with my other content. You can find those links in the description. If you want to join my Discord or become a YouTube member, those links will be in the description as well. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you agree and disagree with in this video and who you would have on your All-NBA teams. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.